Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. Today I brought you a very amazing tutorial on strings. Now, when you're working with strings, it's really important to know certain methods and methodologies that you can apply in the problems that help you to solve your problems. And in Java, when you're coming to Java and working with strings, there are a lot of methods to do. So if you are not very familiar with these methods, then it will be quite challenging to solve problems. So I hope this video will help you a lot. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about in strings is how to find the length, how to take out each character in a string and comparison. But first, let's talk about what is a string in Java. For example, let me have a string A and let me have something like hello. So this is what we call a string, and this is how you declare and initialize a string in Java, right? So this string consists of a set of characters. You can see here HELLO. These are all characters, and together they form you a string, right? So the first method that we're going to see today is length. Okay, the length is to determine the number of characters you have. So for example, let's have hello. The hello word consists of 5 characters, right? So let's go ahead and print that out. Print ln. So you can print a.length. And it's very similar to printing of array, but you have to use these parentheses or like use it like function. And here you see you get 5, right? So this is how you find the length of your string. Now I'm going to show you guys how you can take out the character from each of the string. When you have a string, they are also similar to array. They also have an index to each character. So for example, this is the 0th character. And this is the first character, and this is the second character. This is the third character, and this is the fourth character. They're very similar to array indexing, so you do start from the 0th character. Let me show you. So first, I want to get the word hello. In this hello, I want to take the word hatch. So how do I get it? So you can do this. You can take a.char at, and you want to give your number. Now you have to give the index that you want. So hatch is at the index 0, so you would be giving 0 here. Let's print it and let's see what comes up. And you can see we got hatch. Now let's say you want to access the very last character here, which is O. So 0 and E is the first index, L is at the second index, and another L is at the third index, and the last O is at fourth index. Now you can see some similarities over here that you can pretty much think the same thing as arrays here. So to access this, you can take the length of your whole string and do a -1 so that you can access your last character. You can see over here we got O. Now I'm going to show you guys a very common method that we use almost all the problem solving. So that is how to print all of the characters in your string. Okay. So we're going to print all the characters in our string. Now this is where we try to access each of the character. So how do you do that is you take a for loop, and it's very, very similar to your arrays on how you access arrays. In arrays, you do this. You take your array name, let's say array, and then you do the index of I. So then you have to do I++. And now let's go and access each of these characters. So a dot or at this one over here. So this is a capital at char at. You're gonna just say I. Now this is gonna print all of the characters. You can just store this in a character variable and then print them out, or you can directly use system.out.println on that expression. So let's print all the characters out. So you can see I printed all the characters here. So the next method that we're going to talk about is compare to. Now the compare to works by having one of your strings here. So let's say S1 is a string, and then you use your compare to like that, and then you pass in your S2. Okay, so S2 is another string. Now this is that's something that is inside the argument, and this is another string that you're going to compare with this string. Okay, so whatever you're passing in the argument will mostly decide on whether the compare to is going to return you a negative or a 0 or positive number. It's going to depend on that. So so first, compare to will compare two objects. Commonly we use this for strings. Okay, and what it does is it compares the string's ASCII character. Okay, and determines which is larger. Okay, so equal to or greater than the specified object. So for example, let's have two strings. So the first one is going to be an apple, and the next one is going to be a banana. All right. So now it goes and starts comparing its ASCII character values and then determining it. So for example, it first compares A and then B. So let's say this one is something that we give the inside the argument, then what it will return. The current object is smaller than the argument. This is the current object that we give an apple. This object is actually smaller than banana because A has an ASCII value of, I don't remember, maybe 65, and B is 66. So 66 is larger than 65. So the current object apple, which is, let's say, S1, is actually smaller than your argument. So let's go and try it out. And let's see it. So first, I'm going to be having two strings. Let's have string S1 equal to apple. And let's have a string S2 equal to banana. All right, so let's go ahead and out dot println. Now S1 dot compare to, we're going to compare it to S2, and let's have a look. Yeah, so we got -1, we got a negative. So now let's have both of them equal. If both of them are equal, we would get 0. And now let's have this one as the object, and this one is the argument. Now it will be +1 because the apple the banana, the whatever outside is actually greater than the argument. Okay. Now there is something that you need to know about this. For example, let's say the both are same, but let's say that we have given a smaller case of A instead of an uppercase, and we would expect it to be, we would actually expect it uh, to be like that, but we got a positive number. You can see over that. Why is that so? We expect 0, but we didn't get it. The reason is the compare to will only check the ASCII character. It will not ignore your case. It will not ignore whether you have a lowercase or uppercase. So you have to use something called as ignore case. Okay, so you have to use compare to ignore case. Now we run the code. You can see it provide a 0. Okay, so I'll just quickly name it so you won't like confuse. Compare to. All right. Now let's go on further. Let's continue. Now answer me one question, that whether you can use this for equality. Yes, you can use this, but the problem is they return an integer. But we want something to return a Boolean value. Okay, so there is also methods for that. So let's discuss about it. So for returning a Boolean value instead of an integer value while comparing both of their strings, we will be using equals. Okay. In the Boolean case, that is only not 3 possibilities. In compare to, we had 3 possibilities. One, we checked whether both of the strings. In compare to, we had 3 possibilities to check a string. We checked if they are equal, or if one is greater than the other one, or another one is greater than another one. If they are not equal, we had another 2 cases to do that. But in equals method, let me zoom that for you. Yeah, so in equals operator, where did that go? Okay, so in equals method, you basically compare both of your strings, but it's going to have only 2 possibilities. One, your string can be equal, or it is not equal. Okay, only 2 possibilities, whether it can be equal or not equal. Okay, so either it can be equal and true, or not equal and false. Let me help you with that. So that is only 2 possibilities. So let's go and do that. So I will print it and show it to you, as well as use like a if condition and do a little bit of program as well. So we're going to check if both strings are equal. Right. So we're going to use the same string that we had earlier. But first, let me change the string to up. So both of them are not equal, so it should print false now. So we're going to put s1 dot equals s2. So, okay, equal or not. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have like the same string, and let's compare it. Now you can see that it is true. Now we're going to do something. In this case, for example, let's say that I'm changing the case to lowercase. You can see it is returning false, even though both of them are the same word. So what you need to do over here is very simple. You need to use the same thing that we use for compare to. You need to use equals ignore case. Now this is the mostly used one for problem solving as well. Like if both of the strings, if they're told that there might be a case where where you have to ignore your cases, you have to use this. Otherwise, equals is perfectly fine. Okay. Now I told you I'll be using a small program, so I'll be using an if condition. And mostly this one we will be using in if condition equals s2. We would print equal, else we would else we would print not equal. You can see it's not equal because you didn't use equals ignore case. Now let me make let me make the both of the strings different. You can see it says not equal. Now let me make both of the strings equal, and it will say equal. And let me do like a case sensitive one. Then I have to use ignore case. Then you can run the code, and it will say equal. Okay. So if you watch my last video about stacks and queues, you would know that we will be using something called as is empty function, right? So is empty is also available for strings. Now, when do you say a string is empty? When it has no characters in it. So when it is just nothing else, okay? Not even a white space, okay? Let me share with you guys. So let me introduce a new string. Let me name it as empty string. And we're gonna have something nothing in it. And then I'm gonna show you that what it is going to print. So empty string dot is empty. Okay. Now let me run the code. Oh, wait. Yeah, you can see that we got here true. So let me like name it so we don't get confused. Is empty or not? Now I'm just gonna add a bit of space to the string, and let's see what it returns. You can see it says false. Okay, even a small white space is also a character. Let's have some words, and you can see it's false. Yeah, so this is used to check if the string is empty or not. And now let's go on to further. Now there is something called as checking a substring. So first let me tell you what is a substring. Similar to arrays, where you got subarrays, you have substrings as well. So for example, let's say we got apple. Okay, we got apple. Now in this apple, this is a substring. This A is a substring. This AP is a substring. APP is a substring. APPL is a substring. APPLE is a substring. So like subarray, it is also continuous. Okay. It is also continuous. So even if a single character is present in your string, it is a substring of this string. Okay. So that is the thing. So if I tell you like APPLE and I say PPLE, that is a substring. Let's say P, that is a substring. PLE, that is a substring. LE, that is a substring because it is in the string and it is continuous. That is really, really important. So let's have a quick code for that. So for that, I'm going to have a string. We're going to check if it is a substring. So check string is equal to, I'm going to have the same thing, apple. And for the substring is equal to, we're going to have just the app. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is, we're just going to check if it's there or not. It just contains the substring or not. So this is also going to return me a Boolean value. So check string dot contains the substring. Does my string contain my substring? Like, that's how you name it. And what did we get? Oh wait, let me bring it down. Yeah, true. So is it a substring? Okay. Is it a substring? Yes, it is a substring. Now let us give some very random words. ALE. Now this is not a substring because it is not continuous, even though the letters are there in the string. Let me go and do another thing. Let me go completely different. And it will give false. Let me get it for you in a case sensitivity. And that is also false. Okay. There is nothing called as ignore case when it comes to contains method. So you cannot determine, okay, what if I give another one? So what you have to do is convert both of these to a same case, which we'll see in this video itself how to do it. Like you also convert it to a lowercase, and you also convert this to lowercase, which is already there, and then you compare it. That's the only way you can do this. So we'll tell about it in our video, so don't worry. Now these are some important methods that you need to know, because in problem solving we will be dealing with a lot of problems on substrings, and knowing these methods will really make your problem solving much easier. So the first method that we're going to talk about is substring. I'll be executing each one of them, so don't worry about it. So what is this something called as in start? So basically, I think that if you're very, very beginner to programming, then this would be newer one. But most of them are already found in methods. So first, let's talk about substring in start. All right. So substring int start. Okay. So when you give a string and then you say substring and some number inside of that string, then you know that strings start from certain indexes, right? So let's have a string. Let's have the same thing, hello, or an apple or something, whatever. So yeah, let's have hello. And I'll just quickly write over 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now let's say that I've given this dot substring, and then I've given some start value. Okay. Let's say the start value is 2. This is the start value, and this is going to be my ending. Okay, when I give something like that, it's going to start from the index. Remember that. If you want something from the second character, you need to give the index 1. If you need something from the third character, you need to give the index 2. I'll just very clearly tell you guys about it. So if I give this function, and that is going to be LLO. I'll code this out for you guys so you can clearly understand what's actually happening. So let's have a string and let's have hello. Okay, and I'm just going to print it directly. So we're going to say s dot substring, and inside the substring I'm going to give a value. Let's have a starting value of 2, and let me run the code. It's going to appear at the very end. So over here you can see LLO. Okay, now let's say I'm going to give 1. Can you guess from where it will start? It will start from here. Okay, just the start, guys. You're not determining the end, we're just determining from where the substring should start. Okay, so I'm sorry, 0. Okay, from the 0th index, and that will be hello. Okay, and let's say you just want to print what will happen if I give you the end. Have a look. Just the end character would be printed here. Okay. Now in the same stop string, you can also pass one integer value or 2 integer values. If you take a look here, you can see that we have 2 integer values as well. Now, if you pass only 1 integer value, it would just take it as a start and go till the end of the string. But if you pass 2 values, let's say you pass in another value as well. This time, yeah, so if you pass another value, it would start and end. So for example, let's say I pass, but that is an important thing that you need to know. It will start from the index that you mentioned. For example, let's say I'm starting from index 2. But if you give your end index to be 4, it stops before that. So it stops at 3. Okay. So let's understand with the same example. Hello. H E L L O. I'll write quickly the indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now this will be my start. There is no dot on that. So L is going to be my start, but I gave my end as 4. So it will stop at 3. It won't consider the character that you gave at the end. Okay? And I'll explain to you why this is. So we're going to give 2 indexes in this case. I'm going to give you the first index, let's say 2, and let's give it 4. It should just print these 2 characters, not till the 4th character. And you can say just LL. Why is that? I'll explain you. For example, if I give the whole length of the string, it would print till the last index. Okay? Now why is this? I'll tell you the reason. Now what do we call here is we are calling the start, the beginning index, to be inclusive and the end index to be exclusive. Okay, so there's an easy length calculation that you can do over here. So let me help you with that. For example, over here, you want to calculate how many characters you got inside your substring. So you simply do end minus start, okay, and you would get 3. Okay, so that is why they don't include the exact end value. Okay, if they included, you wouldn't know how many characters you have inside of it, and the length calculation would be a bit of trickier one. You just have to add +1 to it. But yeah, this is also a fine one. I don't have any complaints on this one. So let's go for the next one. Let's go for the next method. So this is index of, and we're going to talk about index of. We have both type of index of. We have a character as well as a string. We'll have a discussion about it. So index of is directly asking the string a question like index of where it is. Okay, and it will always return you the first occurrence of a string. Let me help you. For example, you have a word hello. Okay. Let's have hello. I think I have to write so many hellos. I'm going to ask this thing. What is the index of H? What is the index of H? And it's going to tell me the first occurrence of H. In this string, the index of H is 0, right? So when I ask, what is the index of hello? And dot to H, I given the character as well. And it's going to return me 0. Okay. Let me quickly code that up. Len find index of. So we're gonna find the character for hello as dot index of, and we're gonna find the character H. Right. Let me run the code. And you can see index of hello is 0. Now I'm going to have a repeating character. Let's have L. It's going to find out the first occurrence. So here we have 0, 1, 2. So it's going to say the second character. So you can see the second character. Now let me give something that is not even in the string. Let's give A. A is not in the string. So it would give -1. Also, you can check with a case sensitive character and it would say -1 because it didn't find it in the string. All right. Now we're going to go to the next method, which is index of but with a string. It's also going to find you guys the starting index of your substring that you pass into it. Let me quickly do that coding as well. So wait, ln. Oh, sorry. Now in this, we're going to find the index of a substring. Okay. Now I'm going to say s dot index of, but instead of passing a character, I'm passing a string. I'm going to pass ELLO, and it should return me an index, or starting index, which is 1. You can see that this substring is starting from ELLO, the first index. Now let me give LLO. It's going to start from the second index. You can see over here. Now let me give something that is not a substring, OH, and it's going to get me -1. Now I'm going to give you guys another example of an occurrence where it only gives you the first occurrence. So let's have this one, another hello. Now let me give you the same thing, ELLO. So guess which index it would give me. It would give me the second index. Sorry, the first index, because that is the first occurrence of my substring. So over here, I just added another hello. So this index starts from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This is the whole string. And let me tell you that the substring that I asked it to find out the starting index is ELLO. It would match the first word here. L, L, L is also here. O is also here. And it would return me the first starting index, that is 1. Now last index of finds me a character that occurs last, like from here. For example, I say to find L, it would find out the last occurrence. Let's have this string as an example. It would find 8 because this is the last occurrence of L, and further on I don't have any characters that has an occurrence of L. Okay, this is the last one. Let me talk about ELLO as well. when I talk about ELLO, I do start it from the sixth character, so it would return me the last occurrence of this substring. Let me quickly do that as well. So let me copy paste this, same thing, over here. And we're going to find the last index of, and the last index of a substring as well. So instead of this, you need to give last, and these things should be in a camel case. So last index. And let me run the code, and you should see a big difference. You can see that we got the index of a substring is 6. And for this, I would give hatch, or let's give, hatch. And when I give hatch, it should return me 5. Why? Because you can see over here that hatch occurred one time at the 0th index, and hatch occurred the next time at the 5th index. That's why it returned me a 5. Now let me show you guys the other methods, which is start with and ends with. Okay, so this is a boolean. Okay, let me show you what they do. So starts with and ends with. So it basically checks if a character or substring in a string actually starts with the character that you mentioned inside of its method, or ends with the thing that you mentioned inside of its method. For example, I say that, hey, my string starts with the character hatch, and then I say to ends with, I say, hey, my string ends with the character O. And what do you say? What do you think? HELLO. What do you think? Whether it starts with H and ends with O. Yes, it is. So it returns true. Let me quickly code it up for you. So I'm going to have another string. So let's have string, and let's have another variable. Let me have to check. Okay. Now let's have to check. We're going to check for a string the same word. Let's have hello, and I'm going to check if it starts with H and ends with O. So println. Sorry about that snippet. Okay. So basically, I'm going to checking start with. Right. So to check dot starts with. I'm going to check hatch, and let's see what it returns. Oh, made a mistake. Starts with. Okay. Oh, okay. You can only check a string, but not a character. I'm so sorry. Okay. That is single parentheses. Wait. Let me make it double. Yeah. There we go. We get. Okay. The reason we got false is because of the case sensitivity. So let's give it as a string. And you can see that it is true. Give it as a string, guys. You can see that it is true. This is true again. Now I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm going to be checking it whether it ends with O. Okay, whether it ends with O, and you can see that is true. Now let me check some other word, whether it ends with JK. No, that it's false. Okay, and with. Oh, sorry, I didn't change my function. Oh, guys, what's happening with me? Ends with. Okay, it's also false. So make sure you give a string inside it, not a character. Not a character, okay? So let me change my mistake here. Let me change it to a character. That is it. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna see the other methods as well. Now these are the most important methods, I would say, because we will use these almost everywhere. So please have a look. The first method is to uppercase and to lowercase. Now this is a method we tried to discuss earlier. If you have remembered in the video that I tried to say that the contains doesn't have a ignore case to check. So basically you have to convert it to one of the cases and then check whether it contains that substring or not. So to uppercase and to lowercase. Okay, this is very simple. Let's have an example over here. So you need to have a string. Let's say I have a string the lowercase a b d, and I have a string in the uppercase, and we're gonna have a b d as well. Okay, now let me go ahead and print that out. Now we're going to take our lowercase and we're going to convert it to a uppercase. And you have to give two uppercase in this case. System.out.println, and in this case you will be using uppercase, but we are going to convert that to a lowercase. All right, let's see what I printed. You can see over here that our lowercase string is being converted to uppercase, and then our uppercase string has been converted to a lowercase. Okay, let's go for the next method. The next method that I want to share is called trim. Okay, look at this side. So that is called trim. Now what does trim do? Now trim is a very simple one. Now what it does is, for example, let's have a string. I'm gonna write that string. So let's say I have more spaces, and then I have a string, and then I have some more spaces. Okay. Now this is a string, and you can see that I want to remove these extra spaces from the front as well as at the end. So what you can do is use trim for that. And I'm going to show you how to use that. First, let's have a string for trim. So we're going to have it for trimming. Hello, trim me. And it will not remove your spaces that are in the middle. It will only remove spaces that are in the end and the start. So for trim, trim. Don't confuse with the name of the variable. Let me just change the variable name so you won't be confused. Let me check it out. You can see that it doesn't have any spaces. What if I just print this one? You can absolutely see the difference if I print only this string. Let me print for remove string, and you can completely see the difference that with the space, and after using my trim method, you can see that there is no extra spaces. Now there is something called as replace. Okay, now in the replace you need to give your old character, your old, and then you need to give your new character in the next one. Okay, so this can be a character as well as a string. Okay, so let me quickly add this as well. So let me give a string, And let us say that we want the string, let's say hello. Okay, right now I want the string to change to hello. Okay, I want this to convert to hello. How would you do that? Sorry, hello. Okay, how would you do this? You need to replace this both of the L with YY. How would you do that? Very simple. First, you need to do s dot replace this function, and then you need to give your old character here. Now s is being repeated, so I'm gonna have replace character, or we are doing a substring, so let's have replacing a substring. So you have to choose a character what you want to replace. Now what character you want to replace? L, right? Now you can choose a character sequence or just a character. But if you want to choose a character sequence, you can use your substring and choose it. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, and 3. So both of them are here. 2, and then I need to give 4, so it ends the word. So 2 and 4. Then after this, I need to give my another thing what I want to replace. I want to replace it with YY. Let me go and check it. If there is any syntax method error, we'll check it out. Okay. Okay. Let's run the code. You can see here. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I understand what I've done here. Replace substring. I've done the S, if you remember from the previous. And you can also notice here that it is actually changing all the occurrences, not the first, not the last, but all of the occurrences. I don't know where. Here we go. We have returned the S string. Now let me run the code. It should work for us. Yeah, hello. Now let me try just with one character. Okay. So for the character, you need to give this. For example, let's just replace L with Y. Now this will also do all the occurrence. You can see. Let's do O with Y. Hell, you can see them, right? Now you need to know something very, very important. But before I tell you, just have a look at this. Now I'm printing this replace substring. You can see that it is just printing the previous method, hello. I'm so sorry, it's just printing the previous string. It didn't print our current string. That means it didn't replace our original string. Instead, it created a new string and done the operation. So how to avoid this? See, strings are mutable. So we need something called as immutable for that. We have something called as string builder and string buffer. Okay. So I would honestly suggest you to use string builder in problem solving because it actually modifies your string. And for heavy modification, string is not advisable. Instead, what you would do is take your string and you would simply go ahead and put it in a string builder and then use this. Now, the methods that you've learned is mostly every single method is also very, very similar to your string builder functions as well. So you don't need to worry too much that whatever method you learned in string is useless. No. Even though you will be using string builder, it is a very, very similar methods. So I'll be also teaching you the methods that are in a string builder. Let's start. So every time we try to mutate the string, it creates a new object. But whenever you're using a string builder, it is immutable. So unlike string, you can modify their content without creating a new object for each time. Okay, and there is two things. One is a string builder and string buffer. Okay, so I am going to share with you guys. The first thing is how to create a string builder. Okay, to create a string builder, the first thing you can do is go and say string builder. Okay, and then you need to give a variable. Let's say as one is equal to new string builder. Okay, and after you give this new string builder, a new string builder object will be created. Okay, now to modify the strings into the string builder, you need to do this. You need to pass in your string. For example, I have a string. Let's name it for builder is equal to, let me have something hello, and then the whatever you created, right, as b1. Okay, for builder. Now I'm going to print out this as b1 for you. Okay, sorry. You have to give it inside this one. So it will allocate the necessary space that it needs for your string. You can also allocate space manually, so there is nothing to worry about it. You can also do something, there are many methods like append and so on, which I will tell you. You can see over here that I'm printing this one is from the string builder, guys. From the builder. From the string builder, you can run the code. And you can see here from the string builder, right? So this cannot be accessed as a string. So if you want to return it as a string, you have to use something called as toString. So when you do toString, your string builder will convert it into a string. Okay. This is how we would return in while you're problem solving. And this is an auto expandable. Okay. So there is no need to worry about the size. Okay. And let's get started with some of the methods. There is something called as append and insert. Okay, so let me just quickly explain you these because I think I've given a good intro to the strings. So first we're going to append. So I'm going to show you guys how you can append. So you can append your string, character, anything you want. So it can be a character, it can be an integer, it can be a string, whatsoever. So 1 2 3 3, you can just do it like this. Let me print it out. So let me print it. So the main reason that we are appending in a string builder instead of a string is that if you keep on appending things, it will just keep on creating new objects each time, and that is something we don't want. So that is why we're doing this like this. Now you can also do it with a string and a character. Let me quickly show you guys. Hi. Now let me run the code. And you can see here, hello, hi. Now let me do with the character append. So yeah. Okay, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got overjoyed. Yeah. So you can see that. Hello, okay. Now, after we do this, another thing I want to mention, you also have something called as insert. Well, insert is inserting at a certain position. Let me help you with that. So insert, let's say you want to insert at some certain index. Okay, you want to give that index and then the string that you want to insert. Okay, so to be more precise, let me help you. For example, we got a something called as hello. Okay, now in this, let's say that I want to go to the second index. Okay, and after the second index, I want to add something. I want to add like a comma or something, or a semicolon, or a colon, or a slash, something, or any of kind of a string too is acceptable. Any kind of things I can insert. So what I'm going to insert now is, this is a hello, right? I'm going to insert after 5. I'm going to leave a space and I'm going to print hello world. Okay, after the 5th character, I want all of these to take place. Now you can see here, after the 5th character, there is a space, as we mentioned, and then there is a character. You can also insert anywhere. You can insert it after your 2nd character, after your 1st character, after your 0th character, anything. Anything is possible, guys, with this. Or your first one, you can see here. So this is some more. So replace is something we already talked about, and also remember that for everything you need to remember that and is always n minus 1. Okay, and is always n minus 1, and you need to like remember every methods that I tell in this video. It isn't mandatory too, like you just search it up whenever you want to and just use it. So it isn't mandatory, just wanted to make this video to know that okay, these methods are there and it can be used for your problem solving. So right now we're going to implement those, and don't forget to watch till the end because we do have some important, very important methods that are coming up. I won't say that currently whatever we see are super important, like they are important, we would use it during problem solving. So right now we saw something called as delete character at and replace, right? So let me give you an overview of what these things would do. So delete start and end would remove the characters from the start to n minus 1, and delete character at, it will go and delete that specific character, and you have to specify the index that you want to delete. And when you just give your delete, you need to give two indexes. You need to give the start and the end index, and the replace would do replacing a part of your string. So basically you have to mention the start and the end, and you need to tell what I'm going to replace it with. Very similar to replacing, right? So right now I wanted to cover something that is really important in StringBuilder and mostly used. The first thing would be a reverse in a StringBuilder. You would simply use reverse, and remember that here your objects keep on changing. Okay, it is modifying, so whenever you modify, it actually affects your original object. Okay, you can see here it reversed it. right? So it actually affects your original object. It doesn't create a new object. Now I want to quickly share with you guys character art. You can also use character art, and another important one is a set character, which I'll tell you guys now. But for now, let's have character art, which we have already talked about. So character art, let's say 4, and it would print as the character at the 4th index. You can see over here. Sorry, I have to use character at 4. Or you can store this inside of a character variable and then print that character variable. You can also use a for loop to go through this like we did for the string. You can see that this one is the 4th character. I mean 3rd character, but according to index, it is no, like the 5th character, but according to the index, it is at 4. Right now, we are going to see set character at. The set character at, let me share with you. So set character at will look something like this. Set character at. Right. So set character at would use the index and then the character, and it would set that character to that index. For example, let's take a look. This is the index. Let's say the 0th index. I want a character like hatch, like a smaller hatch instead of a greater hatch. Right? So I'm going to create a new StringBuilder, and so we don't get confused. StringBuilder SB equal to new string builder, and we're going to pass in the string. Let's say hello. Now I'm going to say sb dot set char at. Now inside of it, I'm going to say first the index. I'm going to say the 0th index, and I'm going to change it to the smaller case hatch, and now lowercase hatch. What? Wait. Okay. It doesn't return anything, so that is why they told like error void type not allowed here. That means this function is a void type, and this doesn't return anything, so you can't really print anything. So we just need to print it. Yeah, you can see very down, you can see that the capital hatch is converted to a smaller hatch. Now we're going to talk about the length, the capacity, and everything. Okay. So there are 2 things in a StringBuilder, as you already mentioned. So first, I'm going to share with you guys how to find the length of your StringBuilder. So sb.length is the same as you do it for a string, 7 characters. Now, I'm going to show something called as capacity. Just watch what I'm doing. Capacity is nothing but the internal buffer size. That is 16 is the default, and anything extra to it, it will just add on. So let me show you out.println. And I'm going to show you guys the current capacity it has. That means currently your string builder can hold up to 23 characters. Now let's increase the character. So this is 7, right? So I'm going to copy paste this 4 times, and then you can see that the length of my substring has increased to 28, which means it has surpassed the initial capacity, which was 23, and now it has increased its capacity to 44, right? Now the substring can be also used here, that only the start or start and the end can be also used in your string builder. There is also something very, very important called two-character array that you can also use it on your string as well as on your um, string builder. Just wanted to mention it. So two-character array would convert all the characters into an array. Mm, oh, yeah. So this is only available to the string. So we have to convert the string builder to a string and then do it. Oh, wait. Yeah. Let me show you guys this in an arrays dot to string and close it. Now let me run. You can see that this is in an array.